We are starting. We have 24 in at the moment. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're just going to give it a minute or two and let everyone join in for this session. I'm Christina. I'm the operations manager of Wynleigh. And today's session is on why companies fail ISO audits and how managing directors can prevent it. Just while we're waiting for people to join, this is a recorded session and this can be made available on request. There will also be session notes that will be sent to attendees after the event. See, there's some people in the lobby still. Just admitting them at the moment. And while we continue to wait, we're just going to go over some housekeeping. While we would love the interaction, we want to make sure that this is as smooth sailing as possible and just keep things orderly. So at the moment, we have mics on mute and we have cameras turned off just to minimize disruptions. And if you have any questions, we do have a Q&A that is set up at the end of the session, so you can feel free to post your questions, your comments, and ask them then for responses. And then if you have that burning question and you feel like you can't wait till the end of the session, just feel free to post it in the chat and I'll make a note of it and we'll discuss it at the Q&A session. What else? So again, just classroom rules. If we want to interact, let's put our hands up and make sure everything is as orderly as possible just to achieve the best learning outcomes that we can from this. And I think we're done with all the rules and we thank you once again for joining us. I'm sure this is going to be an awesome interactive session. We encourage you to interact and yeah, we're just hoping for a good session. And with that, I see that we're pretty full now and everybody's in. So I'm going to hand over to our team for the rest of the introductions.
Thank you, Christina. I just want to do a sound check. Please confirm that you're hearing me clearly and that you're seeing the cover slide that introduces the Wynleigh presentation.
Confirmed.
Thank you. So without further ado, we'll get into the actual presentation. Thank you all for joining me today. In particular, I'd like to welcome Megan from Risk Group, our sister company. And thank you to you and your team for the marvelous work that you've done in coordinating and facilitating this process and getting everyone online. I'd also like to welcome each of you, our audience. Specifically, I see a number of our clients are represented today. The Namibian Civil Aviation Authority is joining us. The Engineering Council of South Africa is joining us, Talbot Laboratories, Servachem, GSJ. Thank you all for your time and for joining us this afternoon. I'd also like to thank all of the people that are connected to myself or to Megan on our LinkedIn profiles or to the company pages where you may also have joined from. So thank you for sharing your time with us. Just a bit of background on the company. Wynleigh International is a certification body accredited by a Tier 1 accreditation authority by the name of SANAS. That's the national body for accreditation of conformity assessment bodies in South Africa. We're accredited to ISO 17021 in order to deliver certification to companies like those represented by you, the audience, starting with ISO 9001, which is for quality management systems, then environmental management systems for ISO 14001, occupational health and safety management systems, ISO 45001, and information security management systems associated with ISO 27001. SANAS is a Tier 1 member of the International Accreditation Forum, and therefore they have distinct understanding with other Tier 1 accreditation authorities, allowing for ease of transfer between the different certification bodies at that level. I'd like to then also introduce you to Brad Rolfe, who is online. Brad Rolfe represents Rolfe Laboratories. He is the managing director there and part of the family that founded the organization back in 1967, if I'm not mistaken. And for those of you that haven't heard of Rolfe Laboratories, they produce many of the well-known brands that no doubt you use and have seen on the shelves if you haven't used them yet. They specialize in the formulation and manufacturing of aerosols, creams, gels, liquids, and powders, amongst others, for use in personal and home care. They employ more than 350 people in their factory down in the Eastern Cape at Middelburg. And we've certified them back in 2019 to ISO 9001. We certified their Mount Edgecombe head office, as well as the manufacturing facility in Middelburg. So Brad, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today and for making yourself available for some questions. Brad, if you'd like to just say a few words regarding the brands that you represent, as well as where we can find those brands, the retail stores that you represent as well. Brad?
Yeah, hi everybody. Tony's done the introduction about Rolfe and where we fit into the market, but in general, we've been around quite a long time, and we manufacture for a number of the multinationals. We also manufacture for the direct selling companies like Avon and Avroy Lane and so forth. And then we do private label products for all the big retailers, Clicks, Dis-Chem, ShopRite, Pick n Pay, all those guys. And over and above that, we've got our own brands that we manufacture, market, and sell. We do the warehousing, distribution, sales from start to finish, really. So, yeah, there's very few personal care products that we don't manufacture from a capability point of view. But yeah, I think in this session we'll unpack how ISO has been obviously a massive part of, has become a massive part of our business, and has brought on new customers and continues to do so. So yeah, but thanks very much for the opportunity of engaging with all of you and really just talking about ISO in general and our journey that we've experienced over the last 6 or 7 years. So it has been one hell of a journey, and we're definitely in a place now that we can't do without ISO, to be quite honest. But thank you, Tony.
Lovely. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see the growth of the organization and the implementation of your systems and how they've matured as well. So I look forward to speaking to you a little later in the presentation and hearing from you about the experiences that you've had through that journey. By way of introduction, I'd like to just introduce the topic of today, which is really connecting the demonstration of top management's commitment and leadership to development of the culture that is expected for a quality management system. Sorry, for any management system, we need the right kind of culture. I'm not only speaking to quality. Brad's introduction referring to ISO 9001 is as much an example of a management system as any of the others that you may be interested in, whether it's an environmental, occupational health and safety, or information security management system. So we're going today to talk about a generic perspective of where top management fits in and how that affects the outcome of an external third-party audit. I'd also like to make mention that given who this topic is targeting, I will, at the end of the presentation, be making a free offer to top management, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of the presentation, so there's an incentive for you to stay to the end. Just to indicate what we will be addressing in the presentation, I'll start off by looking at how a certificate, an ISO certificate, may be suspended or lost and what the contributors to that are and how it works. We'll be looking at the root causes of poor quality outcomes. So if the result of your audit is not as favorable as you'd like it to be, we'll talk to the underlying reasons for that as observed across the various standards that we work with. I'd also like to address the influence of your organizational culture on the audit outcomes, the opportunities that are available where you engage in management review activities as top management, and the value and approach that you may adopt with your internal audits, and your direct influence on the culture of the organization, and just some results of studies that speak to the actual culture that's expected and how to achieve it. Then in terms of those kind of experiential examples and what we can learn from the market and past experiences, we're going to have a question and answer session between Brad and myself so that he can give you some insights regarding leadership and commitment from the top. Then lastly, I will wrap up with that free offer that I mentioned earlier. So without any further ado, let me proceed. I'm going into the first slide. And the first myth that I want to bust is regarding the title that we've presented this and introduced ourselves under. Companies don't fail ISO audits. Every audit in reality is an opportunity for improvement. And in fact, if there is a failure, even a complete system failure, we would introduce a corrective action request in a third-party audit, and you would be given 90 calendar days in order to conclude the corrective action that's expected to address that non-conformity. As we continue, I might use the technical term non-conformity. It is defined in all the standards as a non-fulfillment of a requirement. So that requirement might be set by a legal authority. It might be set by ISO in their standard. It might be set by yourselves within your management system, policies, procedures, and business requirements. So irrespective of where it comes from, it could come from the customer, it could come from other interested parties. If a requirement is not fulfilled, it's referred to as a non-conformity. But let's not dwell on the negative side of things referring to non-conformities. Let's continue with the idea of these myths and the actual reality underlying the situations that I will describe. Firstly, we are often addressed as being too strict in an audit as auditors. Now, the fact of the matter is every audit should be an opportunity to protect against uncontrolled risk exposures. So if you haven't mitigated or prevented inappropriate outcomes and dealt with those adequately, then of course it might appear that the auditor is picking on those particular topics. That's never the intent. The intent is to ensure that there is fulfillment of the requirements, as I put it earlier. And it's fair to say that many of the causes of the underlying undesirable outcomes in a third-party audit are as a result of poor commitment and engagement from the top management. And that plays out by way of the hearts and minds of people. In other words, the culture of an organization being affected. So please, when you are audited by external parties, particularly certification bodies, understand that you've contracted them to evaluate and compare your performance against the expected requirements. We're going to try and unpack some of the details without going into the actual standards themselves, because it is a generic presentation. So we'll talk to the topic of leadership and commitment, and section 5 of all of the management system standards deal with that topic quite extensively. So we will address that in its own right. We're also going to speak a little bit about internal audits. The internal audits of these management systems are invaluable tools. They're really tools that you as an organization can use to develop and improve the performance of whatever business processes you're engaged in and whatever risks you're seeking to mitigate. Perhaps some of you are unfamiliar with this, but management system standards, these governance standards like ISO 9001 addressing quality management, ISO 14001 addressing environmental management, or occupational health and safety management being addressed by ISO 45001, they are all centered on a risk-based approach. Clause 6, which deals with planning, slap bang in the middle of each of these standards, expects that we plan our management systems with an understanding of where the weaknesses lie that may deliver an undesirable outcome for whatever the discipline is that you're focusing on, be it quality, environment, information security, or any other topic. So risk management should be at the heart of your management system, and it'll focus on the particular discipline associated with that standard and intends to provide a framework then for improved risk management. So the cross-cutter that you should be understanding commonly across all of these standards is risk management. And I'm glad to say that the South African chair of the TC 262 committee is here today. Johan Opperman, who represents the country and our team when writing the ISO 31000 standard. So welcome, Johan, and I hope you enjoy the presentation and that the presentation does us proud in terms of risk management. Continuing on the topic then, top management, the people who are at the highest level of governance within the scope of the management system that you are introducing, should be demonstrating their commitment and their leadership in regard to that particular standard. It is a specified requirement in section 5 of the ISO standard, and I think given the audience today of managing directors and chief executive officers, it's fair to say that we all know this to be true. We understand that we are the captain of the ship, as it were, and it's under our direction that we demonstrate the values and the vision and the direction that each organization should represent. Moving on to the next slide then, we've gathered 7 root causes associated with inappropriate audit outcomes in third-party audits. The first topic, the reason that you're here, is to hear about the engagement of top management with the different systems and what they stand for. Some background. The ISO management system standards, irrespective of what they are, what discipline they are focusing on, have been developed on what is commonly been referred to as a high-level structure, which is a framework into which all management system standards that ISO develop need to be written. Now, this structure is a framework established from a governance perspective. It's informed by a number of the strategic partners of ISO, including those like the Global Reporting Initiative, previously the International Integrated Reporting Council, and various other representatives of big business globally. And those governance requirements are then intimately woven into the fabric of each and every management system standard. And as such, the first requirements set out in Section 4 demand that the context of the organization is established. What we're talking about there, when you're involved in risk management, you'll always be talking about the context. What is the circumstance or the situation that you find yourself in? And what are the factors that present risk or opportunity to the organization, its strategic direction, and the outcomes of the particular management system standard that you are seeking to satisfy. So within that, these days, climate change is a demand that must be addressed, and you would probably have recently been guided through the process of considering how that as a topic amongst many other issues and topics that could affect the organization and present the organization with opportunity or with risk, and thus the operational control of your processes would then be guided by these standards and addressed accordingly, so that the preventive actions planned and implemented come from your understanding of that big picture and the alignment that's expected between strategy and your business processes and how they are controlled. So would you delegate that to anyone else? I don't think so. It's the domain of top management to engage in understanding the strategy and its relationship to the expectations of the focus area, whichever standard that you aim to address. So that's the first point. We sometimes see that top management are not using these standards and the framework that they present as a strategic tool. Instead, it is a demand from a customer's perspective and therefore simply a marketing outcome that is being sought. And we'll speak more to that as we continue. I did mention that internal audits are a very valuable tool within your arsenal. The internal audits that you are bound to perform under the requirements of your management system standard shouldn't just simply be seen as an exercise in complying to the standard. It should be seen as a mechanism to see that your systems are effective, they are protecting you against the risk exposures relevant to the particular discipline that you're aiming to control. And you are actually applying risk-based thinking throughout, and the audit will deliver, firstly, the highest of priorities and insight to those. So if there are intolerable risks found in particular processes associated with the lack of control or poor control or loss of control or the potential for therefore, the internal audits can reflect this. Now, none of what I've said will be new to you, except for the fact that the internal people are the ones that know about the internal politics, the issues that external auditors will be blind to, the weaknesses resulting from personalities and communication breakdown and various other topics that are not easily understood from the outside. And where these internal audits are not delivering the true results that they can deliver, it can be a cause for the external audit to pick up on those areas of weakness as well. Then item 3 on my list here, risk-based thinking. we often see that businesses are quite familiar with their obligation in regard to occupational health and safety risk. They're able to assess those, they're able to understand intimately what is expected in terms of the occupational risk associated with the activity being performed, the product being used, or some facility that could present a hazard to the individual's health and their safe work activities. However, what we're talking about is applying that kind of thinking to the business process that comprises the activities that must be performed in order to deliver a quality outcome in terms of ISO 9001, or the same activity and the related products and services could impact the environment if you're looking at ISO 14001, or if you're looking at any other standard, whatever the discipline is, the idea is that we prioritize the areas of weakness in the control of the process so that the outcome of that particular discipline and what the activities comprise to deliver on the objective of the process is indeed receiving the focus that it requires, and the preventive actions are being installed and implemented in the workplace. So understanding that and understanding the need to prioritize and focus on the most important of issues is what risk-based thinking is all about. And oftentimes, be it auditors, be it implementers, consultants, people building these systems, they will sometimes misunderstand that and not direct their focus where it should be. The next point is poor objective evidence. Now, one of the misnomers that we find in management systems these days is that it's expected that there are extensive amounts of documentation, be it policy or procedure or similar documents. And in fact, the standards are purposefully written in such a way as to demand that the organization use its best guess, best intent to deal with the particular risks that they determine, which means that the demand for always writing down policy and procedure and business rules is not specified any longer in these ISO standards. Resulting from that, we will sometimes find management arrangements that are put in place, technical, they could be controls by way of competence and other management arrangements that can only be responded to anecdotally. Now, of course, when we're auditing, we're looking for consistency and effectiveness of the controls and the related systems. So if the responses are verbal or anecdotal and not necessarily captured as documented evidence or other forms of evidence, then that sometimes can be a challenge, because different people will have different perspectives and can often give you different answers. So that can be against you in an audit. The fifth one, over-documented or under-implemented systems. What we sometimes find is there's a great deal of documentation specifying the business rules by way of policy, procedure, and instruction and other documents, but the actual knowledge of the content and the implementation of the arrangements within those process descriptions is not there. So the actual implementation then reflects a different practice to what is demanded by the business in its business rules and related procedures. And of course, that can result in a poor outcome. Weak corrective action processes. I mentioned the definition of a non-conformity earlier. A corrective action process demands within all the standards that we firstly determine what the non-conformity is. And although in some of the standards they specifically focus on correction to start with, correction is the removal of the results or the symptoms of the failure or non-conformity. The corrective action, and the language is intentionally used, corrective action is to remove the root cause, the underlying reason for the failure. And if we're not removing the root causes, then the root cause will result in a circumstance presenting itself that's favorable for the recurrence of that event. And that's where the auditors will pick up weakness in the system as a result of the corrective action process being weak or not implementing the arrangements as it should, dealing with the corrective actions and verifying, very importantly, that the risk has been reduced, the record's been updated accordingly, the new rules put in place to deal with that particular underlying cause. If that cycle is not closed properly, then we find the results of that play out into an unfavorable audit outcome where the third-party auditors are involved. And then lastly, we speak to culture once again. If the hearts and minds of people are not in the right place, I often say to auditees that it's pretty easy to document a procedure, to set out a rule. We have access to AI tools these days that can do wonderful authoring of content. However, the implementation, the actual culture that's established, the desire to work according to that business rule, that's a different story altogether. And it's driven from the top. It's a culture that is intentionally built, and we'll speak a little about that in a moment. But if it's not there, the results are clear for everyone to see. And we see a very different perspective where the culture is right versus where it's not there. And in fact, then it appears that the company is trophy hunting. They're looking for the certificate rather than the benefits that that particular standard can offer and the related system that conforms to it. Then I'd like to speak about delegation. If we delegate responsibilities into our structure, which is fair and it's acceptable, the fact is we need to choose the right people and delegate to the appropriate levels. The ISO standards no longer demand a management system representative as they used to in years gone by. So for some time now, more than a decade, the expectation has been placing more and more authority on top management and removing the mechanisms of control and the requirements for them in the systems from lower levels and placing the accountability at the top management level. So it's important that we understand this. If we delegate strategic controls and strategic influence down to lower levels, it may be compared to delegating the running of your business and the associated financial controls to lower levels, which, as I say, is not inappropriate or incorrect if it's delegated to the right level. But if you assume that this is a secondary mechanism of control and not necessarily of high importance or priority, one might misguidedly delegate it to too low a level, and we end up with missing the kind of insight that we need in order to demonstrate the leadership at that lower level, and so the outcome then is felt in the external audit. The decisions around this are critical, and ultimately, if you do choose to delegate work to lower levels in the organization, two things. The first is recognize that the process owners, the managers that are in charge of areas with significant business processes, are the ones that should take accountability for what happens in those areas. And that should be represented in not only the monitoring and measuring results of these systems and the related standards, but also to deal effectively with these systems in the management review, where top management are expected to be present in the review, whatever form that takes on. And that allows then for the strategic levels to engage with the operational levels. And I think this probably emphasizes that a bit more. If, for example, we're looking at a quality management system that I spoke of earlier with Brad, the quality outcomes of the particular process, let's say an operational delivery of a service or a production process, manufacturing a product, we can't expect that the quality manager is responsible for putting the quality into the product or into the service. It's actually the production team. So when it comes to management review, what I've seen work really well is, in that case, the example that I'm using, to get the production manager to present the results of the trends evolving from monitoring and measurement in their area, be it the results of audits, the results of product conformity, service delivery, and so on, so that the key performance indicators are firstly aligned with the particular intolerable risks. So the areas of concern that you've initially established when building your management system, and then the urgency and the pressure is felt by the person themselves rather than the system representative presenting on behalf of that particular designation. And then be sure to challenge the information that you are being provided. It's one thing to have a management review and to have the right people in the room presenting and asking the right questions. If we don't have the data and the information that by which we should be making decisions, that too is a weakness that plays out and a missed opportunity as a result of that. Remember that your approach should be to connect your business strategy and your business strategic objectives, to connect those with the control elements of your management system that you're implementing, as I said, irrespective of which standard it is, whether it's focusing on environment, health, safety, quality, information security, or some other topic. And there are literally dozens of management system standards that can be used as a framework for convenient risk management across the entire enterprise these days. Your internal audits that we've touched on a couple of times should be always value-adding. Any audit should be value-adding. That's not to say telling the people how to do their job, but identifying the effectiveness of the mitigating actions and the preventive actions that you've established for your related management system, ensuring that people understand the expectations that they are accountable for, and that they're able to communicate effectively with the relevant parties that report into them, or to communicate upwards to allow for effective decision making at the right levels. So these kind of events, these internal audits, should be your main thrust in driving continual improvement within the organization. If it's simply a tick box exercise, simply going through the motions, making sure that the person's in the place and all the signatures are on the checklist, that's not what it should be about. We won't derive the kind of value that these systems will offer if that's the approach, and you will see the outcome being picked up very easily by the external auditors. Indicators of a weak culture. So we'll start by saying, what should we not have? Our people within the organization, if they are defensive about errors in their domain, if they're blaming others and trying to shift out from under the spotlight, as it were, that's what you don't want. You want a culture of people highlighting where there are weaknesses, even within their own work and their own processes, so that the team collectively can work on improving that situation, that the right authority can be brought to bear on the situation, and the circumstance then reveals itself in the form of what resources are expected, what competencies are required, what additional mitigation might need be put in place. And so if the hearts and minds of people are in the right place, and both the desire to achieve the outcome as well as the ability, so the training and competence to achieve the outcome and the resources needed for that, if all of that is true, your system will definitely start improving. In terms of the corrective actions, I think I've dealt with that fairly comprehensively. If we have people that are highlighting weaknesses and are truly using those as opportunities for improvement to remove root causes and to drive the return that can be derived from those areas of failure, then we're going to see the value coming out of these systems. All right, we have got to the point where I'd like to engage with Brad and to get his insights to what he has experienced, having walked the path of implementation from the very get-go of making the decision to adopt ISO 9001 and to eventually go for certification, which they've held for since 2019, which is quite some time in any organization. Brad, good afternoon again. Could you tell us your starting point, your initial perception of ISO? I remember meeting personally with you and some skepticism at best.
Thanks, Tony. To be honest, it wasn't a good perception in the beginning. We were forced, one of our bigger customers, Tiger Brands, had been through an ordeal with listeriosis, and their auditors had forced upon their third-party manufacturers. It was fine for them to have in their own facilities certification, and they were obviously managing that correctly. But at a third-party level, there were a lot of their third-party manufacturers that were non-compliant and didn't have certifications in their businesses. So we were approached by Tiger Brands and basically told that if we wanted to continue manufacturing for them, it would be important for us to be ISO certified. At that point, we knew nothing about ISO. We didn't know what it stood for. It sounded like another language to us. So we did a bit of an investigation into it, and it seemed like it was going to actually change the running of our business, and it would cause a lot of drama, and it seemed like too much work. I mean, we're all busy in our businesses, and the different staff that work for us a lot of the time are overloaded and in real term battling to cope with their workloads. And to add a whole new project and a program and a quality management system that was foreign to us seemed not possible. And we pushed back. We had some very heated discussions with Tiger Brands on why we should do it. And when it came to the decision making, there were costs involved and who was going to pay for it and so forth. Anyway, right at the end, we decided we'd embrace it and we'd go for our certification and to become compliant. And I must be honest, we haven't looked back since then. I think we partnered with the right certification body, and obviously with the support of Tiger and the guidance from them, because I mean, obviously they were certified, they knew what to expect. And I think the big thing is that we were convinced right in the beginning to have two separate certifications, one for what we call our admin building, which is in KZN, and that carries certain scopes. And in that certification, The key processes that are audited on an ongoing basis is basically logistics, procurement, supply chain, and billing. Having said that, there's other supporting functions that are also audited at the same time: stock control, finance, IT, operations. That sits at our admin building, and then at the plant level, we've then got key processes down there, which is really production, quality control, inbound, which is really your receiving department, and then our outbound department being dispatch. So I think right in the beginning, we needed to nominate and appoint the right people as your QMS and your QMR to obviously manage and drive the system. And that we've done over a period of time. We've had our QMS has stayed the same over a long period of time. We have had staff changes and people leaving and coming on board. So our QMR position has changed a couple of times, but in general, we've had those people trained through Risk SA to manage it from a QMR and QMS point of view. And then after that, from a senior management point of view, we got quite involved in making sure that we appointed the right key process owners. And then you've got all your support functions that go with it. But I think the big thing is, Tony, is that we've now got a structure, and it does evolve as we go forward. It's not. I don't think it's ever going to be a situation where our quality management system will not grow and changes will be made. It changes on a daily basis. New documents come on board. Documents then get done away with. So it is evolving, but we've now got what I consider to be a mature quality management system. And I think that at all levels in our business, right from top management down to, in real terms, the cleaners and so forth, they are involved. So we've got it at every level. Obviously, at certain levels where there's key processes, there's a lot more involvement. But I think everybody in our business understands their responsibilities when it comes to ISO.
Thank you for that. I think that we need to hear a little bit about your shift in mindset from that initial, call it hesitance to adopt the painful experience that you explained potentially of introducing such a system to one where you personally got involved and engaged with the system as part of the governance structure and the way of doing things rather than something else to do. Would you like to just elaborate a little on that?
Yeah, Tony, I think right in the beginning, you're doing it, like you say, to get the trophy or certificate, and you're doing it for someone else. And to be quite honest, in the beginning, we were trying to tick a box with Tiger Brands, and we didn't really understand the benefits that it could have down the line. Now, as a business owner, I think business owners and senior people, especially when you're a director from a fiduciary point of view or whatever the story is, you want to remove risk, but you don't actually. Right in the beginning of the project, we didn't understand how that would work. I can tell you honestly now that we don't do it for anybody else except ourselves. We're running ISO for us, our business. Our quality management system obviously is supported by the standard, and we refer to the standard on an ongoing basis. But at the end of the day, our quality management system is molded specifically for our business. Each and every business is different, but I think one of the benefits is that all the directors, the owner of the business, and all our senior management and then other staff are involved on a daily and a weekly basis. We have steercom meetings at both sites on a weekly basis. In those steercom meetings, we've got key process owners and support functions that are present. And I think that the big thing is that these internal audits that we're having bring things to the senior management's attention on where things are going wrong. And then obviously, from a finance point of view, a lot of the time it takes money to fix problems. And then it's up to senior management to see and to make the commitment from a finance point of view. Going forward, I think the big thing is that I can't see our business running without ISO, and I think that down the line we might do other certifications, but we'll definitely we're too far down the line. We've got it; it's part of our business. It's the way we think now, to be quite honest.
Thank you for that. You made the remark that you are pleased with your partnership. And we are pleased with your support of the Wynleigh certification services as well. Are there any surprises or maybe just some observations that you can make around the third-party audits that you've experienced? If I'm not mistaken, you are involved in every audit personally. You are a willing auditee, as it were, as well. So we've engaged. When I've been part of the audit team, we've spoken directly. So perhaps just talk a little about surprises or your experience of third-party audits from Wynleigh.
So Tony, I think in one of your slides you referred to having strict auditors, and right in the beginning, it's like being at school, you get told that you've done something wrong and you become defensive. I think that's a natural reaction. But we've now got to a situation where there's no value in the audit unless there's findings. To be quite honest with you, if the auditor comes on site and we get a clean bill of health and there's nothing wrong, then what's the purpose? We're bringing the auditor on site to highlight where there could be continuous improvement and where things could be done better. Obviously, we're now at a point in our journey with ISO where we don't like getting any major findings. But there's never going to be a point in any audit where we don't get findings, and that's really where we see the value, because by identifying where there can be improvement, it strengthens our business on an ongoing basis. And I mean, for us to stay competitive and to be recognized as one of the better and contract packers in the industry for personal care products, we need to be on a continuous improvement journey, which in real terms, having ISO in our business and dealing with Wynleigh International and Risk SA has been that. We know that the auditors come at a very high level. We dealt with a guy for many, many years as our auditor, old Kieran. And I can tell you right now that Kieran sits there with a poker face all the time. He's a friendly guy. It's pleasant to deal with. But at the end of the day, he's actually leading you down a passage that there's a point of no return. Once you've gone down that passage, you actually then might as well accept your fate, that at the end of the day, he's found something and he just wants you to actually say it before he actually does. So, I mean, it gets to a stage where, and these audits have become, we've embraced our whole team right in the beginning. We've got some staff they get stage fright, and, they've now got an auditor that speaks a different language. But at the end of the day, asks 1,000,001 questions. We're now at a point with the auditors where I think our team is because we embrace it on a day-to-day basis, our team is very confident to accept things that could be done better. Where it goes wrong, they accept liability, and that's just I think because we're now at a stage in our journey where we want to do better. We want continuous improvement in our business. Yeah.
Right. Any thoughts on how ISO is or should be integrated into your business strategy?
So Tony, I think we started off, and I mean, our business is quite old. It's close to 50 years old, and we're now in a situation where, and I think it becomes quite common in old businesses where that's how we've done it in the past. Why change it now? It's worked, and to now go and change the fact that people are writing processes or figures on a piece of paper and then putting it in their pocket and all that, those days are gone. Everything is either controlled documents, SDFs, or working documents, which still exist in our business, and there's a need for that as well. But I think that what's landed up happening is that when we started getting confidence, and we felt like we were doing a good job and we were embracing ISO in our business, we landed up creating too many documents, which is also dangerous. And then when the auditor comes on board, he then identifies that there's a situation where there's duplicated documents, that we could do away with maybe 3 or 5 documents and have the 2 left. That gives enough of the information. It's really a traceability issue. So, yeah, I think that at this stage of the game, I'm happy that we've got our documentation is probably in the best level that it's been for a long time. And we've managed to, because of us dealing with our suppliers and obviously raising NCRs on our suppliers, we've now convinced them how it's improved our business, and some of our suppliers have gone the ISO route because of us engaging with them and making it something that's not foreign. It's part of our day-to-day lives in real terms. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for that real-world experience. I want to tell the audience today that the Harvard Business Review, which is a publication that comes out of Harvard Business School, they did some research on the topic of quality, and they found that the excellent results in terms of products and services being delivered that satisfy customers were invariably in organizations where everyone was consistently talking about quality, so the culture was there. And the reason for that was that the top management were demonstrating a very clear commitment to the topic that they were, in this case, quality, focusing on. So what was the challenge for organizations then is to demonstrate the kind of behavior that they had found, and very specifically, they made a connection between what we call walking the talk, a connection between what you say and what you do. If there's consistency between what you say and what you do, it demonstrates your commitment. And the closer that relationship, the stronger the culture and the better quality the products being produced or the service being delivered. And the less consistent, so if the top managers were doing things inconsistent with the message that they had deployed, they found that the reverse was also true. Would you echo that? Have you experienced that kind of thing in your journey thus far?
Yeah, so Tony, I think the big thing is that right in the beginning, we got various external audits coming through via either the Department of Labour, Marsh, SMETA, and then obviously our big multinationals audit us on an ongoing basis. And what lands up happening is that you're scurrying around at the last minute, you try and get an audit agenda, and then you're scurrying around at the last minute trying to prepare for these various audits. We've now got to a situation where I think because of ISO, we're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis at all levels of our business. We're now in a situation where we say to our customers, don't you don't need to give us extensive warning on when you're going to be on site. We're hoping that if you turned up today, tomorrow, or next week, the outcome would be the same. And I think that that's how we approached our ISO audits as well. We got to a situation where, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that we prepared 100% prepared at any one time. We're not. We obviously coming up to an ISO audit. We start putting our system under stress to make sure that everything is under control, and then we start doing internal audits and we try and act like an ISO auditor and ask the questions, because we've got audit reports where there were certain findings. So we obviously give someone the task of being the ISO auditor, and they can go around and ask all kinds of funny questions and all that kind of stuff. We've learned that over the years. So I think that it's got to a stage now where in the beginning we used to get bullied by external auditors in the form of either our principals coming through to audit us, and a lot of the time they were certified and we were not. So it was a foreign language to us, and it put pressure on the team and all that. And then even with like audits like Marsh and SMETA and Department of Labour and whatever, we're a lot more relaxed now with any audit than we were in the past. And that's just because we eat, sleep and drink ISO. And it's part of our day-to-day lives. Though.
Fantastic. Good news. Last question then. What advice would you give to the leaders in the room? So we've got CEOs, we've got MDs sitting in the room. What advice would you have for them?
I think the big thing is that your involvement is going to be quite limited on a day-to-day basis. But I get involved in both steercoms. So I'm obviously on an online basis. That's a weekly meeting that takes place at the plant, and there's 11 people. Some of those 11 people are key process owners, but it's really rewarding for me to actually see the progress on an ongoing basis, and also the pushback from one department. You can transfer NCRs from one department to the next, or one process to the next, and then also we raise NCRs on our suppliers, and our suppliers have now over a long period of time have realized that the NCRs, closing them off is as important for them as it is for us, because it finds gaps in their businesses. So I think the general, from a high level, the more you can be involved, and I mean you don't need to be there for things like the internal audits and that, but you want to see the results of those internal audits, because when things go wrong in a specific area of your business, there's a massive need to do an internal audit on that part of the business. And the reward is really in finding the errors, finding the gaps, and then at a high level with management putting the corrections in place, and then seeing the benefits. The benefits can be less rejections. Obviously, the ultimate one that we don't want to have in our business is losing a customer for any specific reason, and hopefully the ISO net catches that before it gets to that stage.
Thank you. I really appreciate you exposing the nuts and bolts of your system and revealing those as learning opportunities for the rest of us. So thank you for your time, Brad. If you would stay online, we're getting to the end of the presentation, and we're going to offer an opportunity for questions shortly. So if you wouldn't mind just joining me for that. Moving on to the last slide then, penultimate slide. I want to say to those who are present today, we are willing to provide you with a free leadership diagnostic. I will personally spend half an hour with you, engage with you to discuss any possible areas for improvement around the connection of commitment and leadership to your system, irrespective of the ISO standard that you are focusing on. So if you are interested in that, please connect. There will be details at the end of the presentation, and those outcomes are actionable results that you can adopt without delay. So it sets you up immediately for a favorable outcome. It's not consultation. I won't be telling you how to do things. I would indicate where there is a weakness or a gap. So I would point out what needs to be done rather than how it would be done. Obviously, we have to retain our independence and objectivity for the purpose of auditing. All right, then in conclusion, just the main points that I think we can tease out from today's discussion and presentation. ISO audit failures can be attributed to a poor culture, and the culture of the organization is all about the hearts and minds of people being in the right place. And the only way that that can be influenced effectively is through appropriate leadership and commitment from the top. The people who are in directorship positions obviously are aware of their fiduciary duties, and the Companies Act is very clear that we need to protect against loss. In the profit-making companies, you need to balance that with generating value as well. And these management system standards that ISO publish are wonderful tools that we can use to bring focus on particular disciplines in mitigating those risks on an enterprise-wide basis. So I would encourage you as business leaders to set the tone for the culture and use these systems to assist you in developing effective management arrangements that will deliver the kind of value that you've heard about today. Some executionable activities that you can involve yourself in, the most important of which is the alignment of your business strategy with your management system. The business processes and the management system that aims to achieve conformity to a particular ISO standard, those should be inextricably aligned, and the one must influence the other via a feedback loop, so that the outcome and the effect of all of that is the kind of risk mitigation and lowering of potential liability in the same. Again, depending on what it is that you're focusing on. We achieve this, as I said earlier, it's easy to generate documentation these days. It's not so easy to convince the hearts and minds of people to be in the right place, in the right direction. So leadership and commitment is the element of change management that influences that kind of behavior. From a structural approach, internal audits, critical. Make use of them to deliver the insight that they can provide. Make them robust. They should be far more valuable to you than any external third-party certification audit, because your internal staff are intimately familiar with the workings of your business, and they know inherently where the risks and weaknesses lie. So I can't overemphasize that. Data-driven management reviews, as you may have picked up, one of my favorite standards to audit is the ISO 9001 quality management system requirements. And it has a number of principles that are shared across other standards, one of which is the need for our decisions to be data-driven. We need to make decisions based on information that has been derived from our system. It's consistent, accurate, and reliable. And if we base our decisions on that, we can't go wrong. Our direction is set, and it's informed by the underlying workings of what we're seeing is happening on the ground. Of course, I would promote Wynleigh as a certification body, what I'd like to add to in terms of the kind of approach that we value and that I would demand of all my auditors. Firstly, this is not an audit. A third-party audit is not about raising non-conformities. It's about improving your business. Our desire is to build great businesses, and we want to partner you to do that. You'll find that all our auditors, including when I audit myself, will, generally speaking, deliver far more observations than they will statements of non-conformance. And the reason for that is those observations share best practice and compare you to best practice, so that you're not only deriving value from the system and the audit that we're delivering, we're looking at the experience that your auditors have gained from others without giving away the farm or disclosing confidential information. There are ways in which these key points are brought under focus so that you can learn from those value-adding compliments and decisions made on the part of the auditors. So if you are with a certification body already and you wish to transfer, if you are with an accredited certification body, the transfer is literally a verification of their work to ensure that we've done our due diligence on taking on board other certificates. But because it's an accredited certificate, there's a level of credibility behind that makes change a relatively easy and painless exercise, even without an actual audit. Then finally, just to wrap things up, I believe that you should take into account the leadership and commitment, encouragement that Brad has offered us. We can see measurable improvements as a result of these things. We've seen bottom line improvement in companies, growth in companies as a result of them implementing these risk mitigating actions and the related systems and certification. So that is something that I encourage you all with. And then lastly, if you are wanting to have further insight to this topic, I'm quite open to the idea of a leadership diagnostic visit. A half-hour discussion, an online discussion even, can deliver a very valuable insight to what's expected of top management. And that's available to you, and the details of which we will present in the next slide. And that's all I wanted to say today. I want to ask if there are any questions. Please feel free to call those out or to put them in the chat, and Christina will then deliver the questions that are there already. Thanks everyone for your attendance, and Brad, thanks for your participation.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks so much, Brad, for your participation in this. Thank you, Tony, for such an informative delivery on this topic. I think, Brad and Tony, you knocked this out of the park because we don't seem to have any questions. So we will just give it a few minutes to see if anybody does have a question. And you'd also, if you'd like to, you could put your hand up and just switch your camera on and ask a question. You could post it in the chat or in the Q&A. Just feel free. So we'll just give it a few moments. But I think, Brad, your description of audits being a health check, it's paints a very vivid picture, and it's so relatable. Of course, if you go to the doctor and you find out that you have bad cholesterol that's higher, you'll do things to manage that. In the same way, for our systems, see there's something posted in the chat. Oh, Clinton says, Clinton Woodstock says, thank you, great presentation.
Thank you, Clinton.
Just gonna open the Q&A here, see if there's anything. Also don't forget that offer of free diagnostic. What I'll do is I'll put in at the moment now on screen, there's an email address that's info@wynleigh.com. You can send through an inquiry there, or I'll put the email address in the chat so you can copy it out and send it there. Any questions, anyone? So Megan Cunningham from the risk group is also joining us. Megan, do you have any input?
No, Christina, the only input I have, I remember going to see Brad from a consulting point of view, and I've never seen anyone so angry that he had to put a quality management system into his organization. And it's just so refreshing to hear Brad's story. I have been privy to it over the years, but it's just a wonderful story because, as Brad says, the whole culture in the organization has changed. They've got new terminology, new buzzwords. The system is not a flywheel, it's embedded in their business. And it supports their business and it has grown their business. So well done, Brad, for leading your team.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Just a sentiment from Dean Swart. He says, thank you. It appears I'm aligned with your presentation, so no questions from me. And I think that's the consensus from the group since we don't have any questions at this time. And there's nothing further in the chat, but you can just feel free for all our attendees that are left. You can drop us an email via our info line, get in touch with us on these numbers that are available on screen right now if you would like to take up that offer of the diagnostic. In addition to that, the recording will be made available on our website next week, and there will be session notes that will be sent through to our attendees within the course of this week as well. So if you've missed out, you can catch up on the recording that will be made available.
Thank you, Christina.
And and with that, if there's anything else to close, Tony, Megan, Brad?
Just thanks to everyone involved and thanks for your participation.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Christina. I appreciate the opportunity to engage with the rest of the guys online. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Travel well. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.